we have a wonderful business builder webinar coming for you. Your customer retention superpower recognition with Sarah McDaniel. If that's what you signed up for, then congratulations, you're in the right spot. Please feel free to use the chat box throughout the webinar to interact with us, with fellow attendees, just any comments you have, responding to any of the content that Sarah will touch upon. If you have any questions, feel free, you can throw them in the chat, but I highly recommend you throw them in the Q&A section. We will get to those. And if you can't stick around for the whole thing, a recording will be sent out to everybody. And because you made it out today, you also get a bonus white paper. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Sarah.
Thanks, Jessica. Everyone, I want to invite you to think about the organization, the company, the business that you love. It may be your yoga studio, perhaps it's your favorite restaurant where you get your nails done. Perhaps it is, of course, one of your fellow partner businesses that you work with. What is it about that organization that you just love? Type that in the chat in a sentence or even in a word. What is it about that company that makes you feel so loyal to them, that you love doing business with them? And I'm just out of curiosity, just wondering what industry it is. So feel free to type in there what industry it is. As you type that in there, the reason why I ask you that is because you already know the secret to retention. You work for businesses that you love to be their customer. And I think one of the exciting things that we have today is to take that apart a little bit, to see what is it about the magic that they do in keeping you amazing customers of theirs, so that we can study some of that and bring that further into your business. Yeah. So Shaylin, good customer service in any industry, absolutely. And you notice it, don't you? If you notice when there isn't good service versus when it's great service, if you notice it, type notice in the chat. Please type notice. Elaine, yeah, continuity, reliability, predictability, good quality every time, absolutely, yeah. Daniel, you notice as well. So here's the other thing we notice. If we notice, yes, good customer service, not so great customer service, we also notice when we matter. Have you ever had that where you just feel like they know my name? If you've ever had this experience, type me. Really? How do they remember my name? Or, wow, that's so generous of them that they did that. Type me in the chat. I know I have. I can't believe it when I, back before some of our lockdowns, my yoga studio always knew. They'd always know my name, even if they only met me once. They would always make sure they know it. Yeah, your nail salon. Yeah, you exactly, Jessica. So here's what we're going to do. I promise you every penny that you will not be able to bill one of your clients in this hour, whether you charge $35, $350, $3,500 an hour, I promise you every single penny you are going to make back in retaining customers and who have that kind of loyalty, whichever that business was that you thought about or business is. You are going to be able to have that kind of experience for your customers. And if you already do that, you're going to even know clearer what is it about the magic that you do. And because really our experience with our customers, it needs to be as scrumptious as Ben & Jerry's ice cream. If you love Ben & Jerry's, please type Ben Jer in the chat. Summertime, ice cream is pretty much always in my head. Yeah, Tammy, Ben Jerry, exactly. Now, there's two interesting things I've noticed in my studying for this presentation on eating a lot of Ben & Jerry's ice cream, because that's how much I'm willing to do this for you. I'm willing to really, take one for the team and just really, dig in there. I noticed a couple of things. Number one is they always have tried and true flavors. They make really good quality ice cream and they have listened to their customers about what they love. There are things that you are doing that I want to help you to be even clearer about what you're doing well, so that you even more strategically leverage that as a retention strategy. The other thing is that they're willing to try different things. I'm going to share with you lots of examples and ideas that you maybe never thought of, or may seem kind of wacky, or really, I don't think people in my industry would think that's a really great idea. But you never know. Just like sometimes they release ice cream where it's kind of like, why did I give up my chocolate chip for this? I'm going to share with you, sometimes you do hit a winner as well. So but we're going to talk about this in the context of frog. I'm going to teach you how to be the kings, queens, they, whatever. You are going to be able to rock frog, forever recognize others' greatness. In fact, that is going to be the anchor of our key points. We're going to talk about how you have forever customers, how you always recognize them exactly how they want to be recognized, how you are others focused, and how you are able to focus on their greatness even when they're not demonstrating that they are always great. Do you ever have somebody complain to you? Type complain if you've ever had that. I'm going to share with you even how you can recognize and retain customers despite some of those stressful, challenging moments that we all experience. All right, the very first question is, do you have a forever philosophy with your customers? Do you see your customers as there with you forever? The reason why this is so important is when we look at all of the customers that you have, all of the folks that are lucky enough to work with you, it is about 20% of them that result in 80% of your business growth, your referrals of what you do. This Pareto principle has been substantiated in nature and psychology and economics, and it also is true in business. Now, the reason why this is important is because we sometimes think about having to find strategies that work for all of our customers. The very first point about making sure that your recognition and how you retain people is truly part of your forever philosophy is that I invite you to think about, who do you want to keep forever? Who has demonstrated that they want to be your customer forever? Those are the folks we want to make sure we recognize in an incredibly intentional way. Because the reality is that a lot of other businesses are not treating their folks as forever. They are disposable. Have you ever had a situation working for a business where you just feel like a number? Type number or the number sign in the chat if you've ever felt like you are simply treated as a number. You, anybody else, doesn't matter. Customers can be interchangeable. I know I have. So this is your advantage. Number. Exactly. We've all had that. By you intentionally focusing on, particularly when you are so loyal and consistent, and they are loyal and consistent to you in the case of when you're looking at your customers, how do we demonstrate that they are not just a number to us? Well, the forever philosophy is, how do we focus on the now? How do we make sure they feel like the most important person now? And this is really important to think about, because one of the biggest pushbacks that I have as a recognition expert is, but I don't really know where to start. This is my expertise. My expertise is I can rock a spreadsheet. I can balance, anything you give me. You could give me a box of receipts. It's the most confusing. I can sort it out. This is what I do so well. Recognition or business development and some of these other pieces, maybe it's a necessary part of your business, and it may not be something that you love. Well, the good news is, by having this approach around, I want to make sure every customer that I work with feels like they're not just a number, and that the most important customers, that top 20% that lead to the majority of your business growth and profits, we don't now have to start thinking about business development and our people strategy. We can get really clear. You could get back to what you do well, because we just need to zone in on that 20%. I want to give you an example. I follow the blogs of my 20% of my customers who are my, they bring in 80% of my business. And actually that is an 80%, including during COVID. They were particularly loyal and generous to me, as I'm sure you have had that same thing. Well, one of those blog posts, an individual who he's the 4th generation business owner at a telemarketing organization. And one of the interesting things is he shared, as my birthday on Valentine's Day, I'd always make sugar cookies with my mom. And instead of having a birthday cake, we would have decorated sugar cookies. And then he talked about how he had lost his mom that year and he just couldn't bring himself to make them. But he shared a picture of the last year. Even though he was 50 years old, he still went and he made sugar cookies with his mom. Well, I read this and I went and I asked my daughter, who's 15, hey, do you feel like making some sugar cookies this weekend? And that's what we did on a Saturday afternoon, because he was one of my 20%. And I'd never done a big gesture. I'd never done something big for him, but he had referred clients to me, written testimonials, introduced me to other clients. And so I was looking to find a way to give back. And that's what we did. We made sugar cookies. Now, granted, we like doing stuff like that. You may not, but we do. And we decorated them as close to what the picture looked like. And then we took them to Canada Post, we bundled them up, wrapped them really tightly, and we expedited them overnight shipping. So they were right there in his office first thing Monday morning. He will never forget that. Would you ever forget that gesture? If you think, no, I would never forget that gesture, type no. If you think yes, come on, cookies, we wouldn't remember them, type no. Yeah, you'd never forget that. Now, I want to be very clear with you. I didn't do it to try to get into his good graces. I did it because I think that this would be a way for me to say, I'm listening. I'm paying attention. You're more than just a number to me. I appreciate you. Now, not one additional piece of business has come as a result of that gesture, and I'm good with that. However, that's one of the things that I invite us to think about is how can we make sure that we're actively paying attention to our top clients so that we can identify those windows. Another example is one of my clients, coaching clients, just told me yesterday on a call that he got a promotion, a really big promotion. So I live in wine country in Niagara. I can support local and give back to my client. And I called up our local, my favorite winery just around the corner, hand delivered a thank you card to them and ordered a mixed case of wines, including a box of their sparkling champagne or sparkling wine. And it's going to be shipped. It's going to be at his place tomorrow. And so he won't be expecting, he's already paid his coaching bill, but the point is I'm excited for him. So how can we show that we're excited for people's success? How can we be paying attention and noticing things that are happening with our clients, not to try to, to now they owe me a favor. It's to say, this is how much you matter to me, and there's zero conditions to it. So here's my suggestion to you. Do a top 20 list. It could be 20% of your clients. And so if, let's say you have a client roster of 20, then that's 4 people, because you don't have to do this for everybody. If you have a really big client base, and let's say even if you are within a large organization, this may be specifically the units within your organization that you support. Who are your best folks that you like to support within your organization? If you're very clear about who your top folks are, and by the way, these don't even have to be current paying clients. This could be your neighbor that has sent you more business than anybody else because they know that you are awesome. They know you're amazing. I would put them on your 20 list as well. Your top 20. These are the people that help you and support your business, that they are your raving fans. And that those are the folks, by having that list front and center, you will be looking intentionally, trying to find and notice opportunities to go a little bit farther and recognize and appreciate them. In that document that Jessica mentioned, there are over 100 ideas about how to recognize people in techie ways and fun ways and kitschy ways, all kinds of different ways. And I bet you have all kinds more as well. But the point is, we want to make sure that those folks who are most loyal to your business and support you the most, that they're the ones who are top of the list, who get your attention, and they never feel like just a number. All right, second point. Are you ready for the second point? Type ready if you're ready. Are we ready? Okay, ready. I love it. Awesome. Now, do you recognize your clients over time? I love how ready you are. Yes. This is having a customer journey lens. Sometimes we in business, and this is not necessarily you, but let me ask you, think about this. Have you ever had it that you feel that some customers get the appreciation more than others? For example, have you ever had new customers that seem to get more appreciation, more deals, more opportunities, more access than you when you've been loyally patronizing, or you've been a loyal patron of this business? Have you ever had that? Have you ever noticed? Type yes if you've ever noticed that. Yes, I love it, Deb. Caps, exclamation point. What does it make you feel? And what do you think when you find out that the person who has never paid them a penny gets a better deal than you do? What do you feel? Type it in the chat. Yeah, cable companies, exactly, Stephanie. Uh-huh. There's a reason why Netflix and Amazon Primes of the world can come in and take a whole bunch of market share, isn't it? Yeah. So, oh, okay, I love that. Thank you for the question. I'm going to come back to that. So, when we only recognize and value customers to bring them in the door, what keeps people in the door? What keeps, and this is the metaphorical door, because I recognize many of us are running virtual non-bricks and mortar building type of businesses. What keeps people there? That's why we need to look across the whole lifespan. Because as we've all heard, it takes a long time to bring in a new customer, but it can take seconds to lose them. I'll give you an example of this, and you probably can relate to this. At one of the organizations that I used to belong to before I belonged to my current yoga studio, it was a gym, and they were offering this $99 for the year special. Well, I thought, gosh, I spend $99 a month. I never had this deal when I first started, and I think I would like to spend only $99 for the whole year. So I called them up and I said, I'd like to have the same special. Thank you very much. What do you think their answer was? Do you think, was it like yes, or was it no? Just take a guess, No. Exactly, Corey. It was no. Now I get they've got business expenses. They can't sort of give everybody a deal. But I said, I've been with you for 5 years. Why would I stay if I get a chance to have all access to all the same things, but I pay 12 times more? And I mean, on the one hand, it was the reality of it, but you know what? They also didn't handle it very well. They tried to explain to me their business model. I don't know. Has anybody ever explained their business model to you and you're like, oh, that's totally fine. Even though I don't matter to you, now I get your business strategy. That's fine. No, we can never sort of fall victim to that. LOL, no. So here's how you always get a return on your investment for making sure people across the lifespan, that all throughout, whether they are new customers, they're existing customers, or they're your legacy customers that have been with you from the beginning and will be with you until the end. Here's a few examples. We may offer freemiums, so these free gifts. It could be tools and resources, and maybe like an onboarding call that helps with that new customer. Think to yourself, if you have a potential new client, are you willing to give up an hour in your calendar to try to bring them on? If you've ever done that, type me. And I know I have. When if somebody wants to possibly do work with me, then they want to talk with me about it, absolutely, I'm happy to open up my calendar to you. Do we always do that though for our existing customers? I know for the people in the top 20, they do get time in my calendar. Not everybody gets time in the calendar. I'd never get any work done. I definitely wouldn't make it in the house for dinner. However, the top 20 do as well. So in the beginning, our existing customers, they may get some free resources. They may get a little bit of time with us. And then the existing customers, well, how can we give them a bonus? I mean, this business building series is a beautiful example of how you nurture and you show value and recognize your existing customers. Because QuickBooks knows that and they don't know I'm going to say this, they know that the more you are successful, the more you're likely to be able to keep doing business with them. It's a mutual benefit, right? And they also value you. They value anybody, because there are people in this conversation who aren't just QuickBooks customers, because they want all businesses to do well. That's part of their philosophy as a Canadian, their Canadian business is to support other Canadian businesses. I know I'm a QuickBooks online customer. They didn't know that when they hired me, but I am. And part of what we need to do is we need to give people opportunities to continue to thrive and to feel appreciated and valued. And so that's where this is a great example of something in the middle. And we can all do that. Imagine if your customers were coming to you and they had a very similar issue. Maybe it's a new legislative change that's causing confusion. Perhaps every time of year, it's really tough to balance getting, let's say, receipts in on time. Maybe folks struggle with keeping things organized. what if you could offer a tip sheet? What if you could offer a webinar? You lead it, an expert leads it, but that helps you because you perhaps have people who show up better organized and give you receipts that aren't in a shoebox once a year, but also it makes them feel like you're paying attention and you're listening. So that's where how we support existing customers is we find some way of delighting them and giving our entire customer base some support and appreciation that makes them more successful. And then our most loyal customers, we probably want to offer them something amazing. Now, for one of your clients, it might be, let's say, a once a year, let's go over your business. Let's see if how everything is working. I want to share with you a really fun thing that came in the mail a few months ago. This one of my favorite stores is Desigual. I don't know, does anyone else Desigual? If you wear their stuff, type D in the chat. Well, I must buy enough that they're monitoring my buying behavior and my points because they sent me, and it's of course another language, exceptional. So their head designer made this scarf, and it was only for their customers that have healthy buying habits. My husband calls it something different. And it was a scarf. It was a beautiful scarf. It's the scarf that you cannot buy, and they sent it completely by surprise. And it was delivered with a little note that said, "We appreciate our best customers, and this is a little gift to you to say thank you." They didn't promise it was going to happen every year. They didn't promise if they're going to send me something else. They didn't promise it was going to be a scarf. But the box and the product was so beautiful. I have kept both of them, and I've told many people since, and I continue to aim to be able to one day receive another one of those gifts, despite much to my husband's chagrin, I'm sure. But that is an example, that surprise delight factor, that they didn't have to do that. In fact, what most people do is they give a coupon. Let me see. Oh, like, have you ever gotten one of these from like an Old Navy, that sort of thing? That is just so that we come in the store again. I mean, thank you for the $30 off. However, can you use it right away? No, there's always a delay on it. So that's not the same thing. If they had sent me a lovely gift, a surprise gift that was really meaningful and based on all the buying behaviors, then I might feel a little bit differently, because that $30 in the form of a surprise gift could matter so much more than a coupon. That really is just about bringing me back in. A fun example of this is eSpeakers. They have a database of 25,000 speakers from across the world. That's the fastest way to be able to search for a speaker on any expertise in any country at all kinds of different price ranges. Now, some of their speakers are at the basic membership, and some are in the middle, and some are at the top. Well, they wanted to reward the people who have invested the most heavily in their own platform, their own presence in eSpeakers, with the t-shirt you can't buy. And every year they come out with a new one, and they don't give it to their new folks, because their new folks get a discount the first year. They don't give it to the people in their second year. They give it to people the third year. They have had to intentionally renew twice after they get their discount. Why? Because they want to say, we appreciate that you have stuck with us. And then they give it to people the 7 year. They joke it's the 7-year itch t-shirt. And then they also give it to people every year after that. Why do they do this? Because they want to show that they appreciate people. They wanted to fill a gap. They asked me, how do we make sure that the people who've been with us the longest and who make the biggest financial investment in the company don't feel like they don't matter? And this is one of the things they came up with. And they change it up every few years. And they also have offered, during COVID, free consulting services for leaders so that they get their virtual studio up and running as well. And that's, again, for their premium top-tiered clients who are the most loyal, that they're 20% clients. And that was a lovely, generous thing. So how do we look at this how do you look at this in your business? Here's my suggestion. Do your 3-phase list. And the phases, let's just go back to the phases for a quick second. Your new customers, your existing customers, your legacy customers. If you like Evernote, open up your Evernote. If you're a pen and paper person like I am, then just put 3 lines down with at the top, left, new customer, middle, existing, to the right, legacy customers, the ones who've been with you the longest, who have the biggest investment. What do you currently do? How do you currently show that you appreciate and you value these folks? And what else could you do? What ideas are you going to hear in our time together today? If you want to ask some questions, I will be here for another half an hour after our hour-long keynote together to answer some of those questions. I'll help you fill this form out if you want. And in that white paper of over 100 recognition retention ideas, you'll find additional that you can put in there. The key about how this relates to what I was mentioning about your legacy, those top 20% customers, is that you will find easy ways to appreciate people at all 3 points in the lifespan. This keeps you grounded, that you don't only have strategies that fit into one of those lifespan buckets, because you can't afford not to warm people up as new customers. You can't afford to spread yourself so thin that you're doing the same thing for everybody. That's probably not as effective. And you probably don't want to only pay attention to your legacy customers, because what happens if 5 of them retire next year if you have a business of 20 clients? So we need to be sort of mindful about all 3 of them. And by creating that list, that top 3 list, the 3-phase list, you're able to start capturing all of your ideas, all of the examples of what you think would probably work. And then you try it out. All right, 3rd, are you ready? Type ready in the chat if you're ready. Hopefully by this point, you're not ready for a bio break yet, but Daniel's ready. I love it. Jessica's ready. Tammy's ready. That's awesome. All right. So here's the other part of forever recognize others' greatness. Is your recognition others focused? I gave you that example of the coupon. Coupons are a perfect example of not being others focused. I will confess, here's an example where I wasn't very others focused. I had this made. This is my website logo, former logo, Greatness Magnified. Who wants a cutting board with a client's logo? Really? I don't know what. I actually did it so that I could hire a local artisan, but I didn't really think it through. I should have just had them build the cutting boards and not burn my logo into it, because it was me focused. It was about me. I wanted them to have my logo front and center. So I will admit, I have to learn my own message sometimes too. Think about a trade show. Okay, this is kind of funny. So I was looking through all of my props. I have this little bin in my cupboard that just says silly things. I don't know. I like labels. What can I say? So it was a perfect example of how I could use my label maker. Silly things. And you know what? Almost every single thing in my silly things were branded kitsch and swag that I've never used. They all came from trade shows. This, by the way, is a coaster made out of leather. It warps. It knocked over my water all over my keyboard. So it went in my silly things. So yes, I've got a button made. So pivot tables are the best thing since VLOOKUP. I have no idea what VLOOKUP is. I have no idea what Logan is. I barely know what a pivot table is. There's all kinds of stuff. Oh, here's one of my personal favorites, a nose flute. What am I going to do with a nose flute? Seriously. Anyway, the point is we have all kinds of swag that we get that we don't care about. Imagine if the next time you were imagine when we can get together in person, right? Imagine if you were able to walk through that trade show booth, and instead of spending money on carrots that people they really thought about, what would this person need? What would the person showing up to my booth truly need? Would that be great? Wouldn't you feel less guilty about throwing out stuff and filling up landfills and having these super awkward conversations with people where it's kind of like, I know you want my business card, and I know I just want the parrot. It's this weird sort of us-them awkward sort of situation. And everybody smiles really hard and nothing is really real. So, one of the things that we can do to actually save money is and to invest it well is we find what really matters to our clients. That's maybe a coupon, but it has to be a really good coupon. Like not the one that I got yesterday was $5 off your next $50 order. Is that not like 10% off? I don't know. That 10% off isn't a big deal. Instead, when somebody sent me a couple of months ago, they said, We just came out, because you're a customer of this product, we have a brand new product that's coming out. We would love to give it to you for $1. That is generous. And only the existing customers are able to access this for $1. Now that is a good coupon. Energy connection is the energy that exists when people feel truly seen, heard, and valued. Brene Brown. We want to create connective energy. Anytime our customer thinks, do you even know me at all? Or why the parrot? Or really, why would I want your logo on my cutting board in my kitchen? People are going to be very confused. It creates actually a disconnection, and it detracts from the relational energy. And that's what we're trying to do, is build a sense of mutual benefit, mutual connection. So really that helps us to get through that question of, well, I already recognize, I already do things. Here's a perfect classic example. Christmas time or holiday time, everybody, I said Christmas time because I actually still receive Christmas cards. Not everybody celebrates Christmas. And not only that, even if it is a holiday card, every client gets the exact same card. It's not handwritten, there's nothing personal. It's just basically they hired some mailing company to send it out to everybody. And I say to my husband, well, that killed a tree unnecessarily. I feel no more loyal to them because there was no real heart behind it. So yeah, they already recognize, but not in a way that makes me feel a sense of connection to them. Same with, anybody have this? Have you ever gone to the dentist and you get the goodie bag? You know, like you're 5 and you just went to the birthday party, and what do they give you? Toothbrush, the smallest possible toothpaste you could ever imagine. Yes, actually, I save up all of mine and donate them to our homeless shelter because I will go through that in like a week, but there are other folks who need it. And some kind of toothpicks, and they always have a coupon, which tells me probably all of this stuff they got for free. Why? And oh, we also get chapstick, and the chapstick smells like feet. I don't know. Anyway, I'm not sure. It doesn't really quite fit with their vibe. But the point is, they have been asking me for at least 5 years, could you please go to an electric toothbrush? I have. But I still keep getting the manual toothbrush. It doesn't make any sense. So in other words, there's a bit of a disconnect between what they're saying. They hand it over and say, here you go, with huge pride, and it's not a value. So what can we do that is the most valuable? Well, it comes back to actually what we all most need. So as a recognition expert, usually what I do is I go in and I speak with organizations about how they can leverage recognition to retain their best staff. So in that company research, we found the same thing. There's one way. Almost everybody wants to be appreciated. So if you work with a team, if people report to you, you work with people, you have contractors that sometimes do work for you, this will be helpful for you, not just from a customer standpoint, but also from a colleague and staff standpoint too. Let me ask you, if there was only one way you could be appreciated for the rest of your career, for the rest of your working relationship, what would it be? What is your most preferred, type in the chat, your most preferred way to be recognized as a fellow human being? From your, so true, Elaine. Yeah. It could be from your kids, from your staff, from your colleagues. Anyway, how do you most want to be appreciated? Type that in the chat for me, please. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, absolutely. So really, one of the things that we want to make sure that we do is that we find a way to coffee. Oh, I love that. Yeah, heartfelt gifts, things that are useful, coffee, etc. Yeah, nice written note for sure. In fact, the number one way most people want to be appreciated is a verbal thank you. 95% of people say, simply tell me thank you. Second most common way people want to be appreciated, well, it's a personal, sincere words of acknowledgement or some gesture, a sincere gesture. And the third most common way that people want to be acknowledged is a handwritten thank you or some personally written note. So much of what you have just shared, just goes to show that's the same research. So how do we do that for our clients? How do you make sure that they feel that there's a hearty thank you from us? And it doesn't come in a blanket holiday card that is a corporate card. Now, you may still choose to do a card. In fact, this is a QR code, the one on the side of the slide. If you want to hold up your phone, your smartphone, you can get access to a card to send it to anybody. Send it to your favorite client. You can send it to anybody, your favorite colleague, your mom, whoever, but you can scan that and get an access to a card. I will tell you, with with me working so remotely, I have been using this virtual card creation system, and I've sent out over 500 cards in the space of between when COVID hit in March 2020 to the end of the year. 500 cards. I've never sent that many cards because I've kind of felt like the world needed a little bit of love. And so what I found is so many folks saying back is, you don't know how much I needed somebody to just reach out to me, somebody to make me feel like they were paying attention, because I don't see many people, or my whole wellness and health strategy has been turned upside down, or because the third wedding of my family this year has been canceled. People need that sense of connection. They need that energy that happens when people feel seen, heard, and valued. And a card that you can order now, it's as simple as an app these days that will allow people to feel through that card, that gesture, connection. And here's the little hack. Here's the productivity hack I want to share with you, is that if you find a system that you like, there's also things like Love Bomb, which allows you to send text messages. All of these, by the way, are in that webinar the white paper handout. There's systems like Cloud HQ and Loom that are Chrome extensions that you can send a video message in the base of your a message out to your somebody in an email. So there's lots of different ways that you could do this today. The benefit is that it allows you to share appreciation, recognize people, say thank you so quickly and easily, way faster than it would be if you had to look up somebody's email, look up their address. In fact, I even gamify my thank you card habit. I make sure that I look up if I can find their birthday. We put it right that into the information, in addition to their name and their address and their company. And then I further hacked it in that I put in as their anniversary, based on where their first name falls in the alphabet, I'll put them in. So all the A and B's, they're January. And that way, even if I don't know somebody's birthday, at least one time of the year, I reach out and say, hey, I'm thinking about you. Thank you so much. The last time we spoke, it was, and so it can be a personal reach out. So every one of my clients that are in my top 20, they're all in that database, plus a whole bunch of more people that are awesome. And it gives me a great excuse to reach out to my Nana in England once a month and send her pictures of my kids. But the bottom line is, we can find ways to systematize this that are easier than ever before. So really, what I invite you to do when you look at that document that you have, of the 3 phases of your customers, your new customers, your existing customers, your legacy customers, when you look at all your ideas of what you're currently doing, what else you could be doing, filter it through is this others focused, or is this me focused? Is this a cutting board with my logo on it, or is it a local artisan has made it and each one is a little bit different? The thing that I chose to do for my top 20 customers this past holiday was I hired an artisan to, I gave her a certain amount of money. I said, would this be a fair amount of money to make 20 pieces of art? And she said, yes. And I said, free license to create whatever you want, as many different mediums, size you pick, you choose to based on your expenses and what you'd like to create. And I gave her 2 months. And then she gave me all of the pieces of art, and I looked at it and I picked, of my 20 people, who is going to get what piece of art. People don't throw that away. Even if they don't love it, they'll probably be able to gift it onto somebody or put it in their bathroom or something like that. But it was carefully picked who was going to have what piece of art. And because it was only a few people, it was sustainable. It was actually possible. And I won't do that for everybody. But the point is, it was about them. There was no logo on it. I didn't even put my name on the back of it. There was no logo. They may totally forget that it came from me. I don't think so. They probably won't. But the point is, it's about them. It's about others, being others focused. So let's wrap the 4 points up with this one. Here's our fourth point. Do your customers feel great? Can we all agree that it has been a tough road? If you agree it has been tough this last 18 months, that you know that people have been finding this tough, type tough in the chat. I know my kids, my son who's in grade 12 who graduated with no graduation, and my daughter who's barely stepped foot in a high school, and my mom who misses her mother and can't be there, and oh my gosh, the tough stuff. Yes, tough, exactly, Jenny. So we have a unique opportunity to show value, and we appreciate people at a time when they so need it. I mean, now more than ever before. And so this is the I can actually call it relational remedy. I used to call it the transactional to relational spectrum, because we can be super transactional, like you do this for me, I do this for you. It's kind of like when I send you an invoice and you pay it, that's a transaction. And recognition can kind of be transactional too, right? All of these are transactional. However, the great thing is that we can actually use our recognition as a soothing balm for people who sometimes feel stressed. I mean, how many folks do you support and their businesses are struggling right now? If you have any client that it's kept you up at night, that you've been worried about their business, type me in there. Do you have anybody that you serve or the business that you work for? If you work in an organization, if you've ever had anybody that you're worried about the strength of their business, me, yeah, Jenny, you have. I know I have. I've been worried for people. So recognition can actually help with that. Now, if we look at some of the things we've already talked about, thank you cards, specific acknowledgements, just saying thank you, all of those cost nothing or virtually nothing to retain people and to be the soothing balm that is needed in this challenging time. Other things that we used to do, like order a fancy pen or send a water bottle or even branded chapstick that has your logo on it, they all have a much higher price tag. Now, none of those things I've never had in all the years when I've been doing keynotes on recognition. Nobody ever said to me their favorite way of being appreciated is a fancy pen or even just a pen in general. But here's a little fun thing that I did last night. So I said to my son, okay, set your smartphone for the timer. I'm going to fill a bag. I'm going to fill a bag of pens with from our pen drawer. Do you have a pen drawer like that too in your house somewhere in your in a junk drawer, and you're just full of pens and pennies and like odd socks? If you have that, type me. We have like 3 of those drawers. I have no idea how we have 3. Anyway, so I said, yeah, me, Daniel, you have one of those. So Daniel and I could go to our drawer and open it up tonight. Daniel, feel free. I challenge you to go and do this too. And I said, set your timer. I'm going to fill my baggie with pens that have somebody's logo on it. Okay, go. It took me, take a guess how many seconds it took me to fill this bag with pens with other people's names, other company logos on it. Take a guess how many seconds. I'll give you a hint. It was in seconds. Yeah, 15 seconds, 10 seconds. Yeah. Yeah, you know what? I appreciate you think I'm that athletic. I love it. It was actually 23 seconds. Yes, Stephanie, Dealey, we're in the middle. 23 seconds. 23 seconds. Guess how many fingers were covered in ink in trying to do this exercise? How many fingers do you think I had to scrub after that because of the poor quality of these pens? How many fingers did not come out of that exercise unscathed? Oh, you were so good at guessing the length of time. Yeah, 5, 5, 4. Yeah. Well, fortunately, it was only 3, but still, it took me a lot of time to scrub it. Of all of those pens, one would I consider to be quality. So I'm thinking to myself, I wonder if each of these pens cost $1, if I could call all of those companies up and ask for my dollar back, because I don't know which of those pens calls all the ink. But the point is that that's a budget somewhere. Somebody has a budget for pens, and yet they're not a value. I know when I leave my massage therapist, I get a pen with a rebooking card. And the last time I left, I said, I have multiple of those pens. I don't need another one. And she said, I'm going to give it to you anyway because you need to rebook. I didn't have a choice about taking the pen. And I actually did forget to rebook. So, even with the pen though, the point is we have so many ways in which we can more strategically focus on greatness, because nobody felt great by getting a pen, but there's other ways that we can make them feel great. And when they have so much going on, I mean, you have so much going on too, right? With the volume of work and all the things you need to do for your kids, your grandkids, your nieces, your nephews, the additional health precautions that we're all taking. We're too busy to try to figure out a way to connect with folks. In fact, it's more challenging than ever. So we need to remember that how we make others feel says a lot about ourselves. The more strategic that we get, actually, the customer's asking for pens. Okay, Rob, good point. Okay, good point. Here's my suggestion then. Buy a good quality pen. Here's the pens that because I do have pens for my customers too. Here's my pen. I'm kind of proud of it. It costs $2. It's not a couple of pennies, and it's really good quality. I actually have used a pen. I write on it, my pen, so that I see how long. I have gotten months out of those pens. So a good point, Rob. I don't want to tell you not to ever use the pens. Okay, good point. Good point. Just make sure it's a good quality pen if you're going to use it, because then, even because they love it, Rob, they're going to say, I always go with Rob's pen. I always use Rob's pen. Where's Rob's pen? Where's Rob's pen? And they will value it because it is helpful to them. It's not going to break apart. It's not going to put ink all over their hands. Because the last thing you want to be associated with is the pen that ruins somebody's suit. You definitely don't want to be associated with that. Because how you make others feel says a lot about yourself. So if I make you feel like you are worth quality by giving you a good quality, this one is actually a fancier pen than I give. If by giving you quality, it says a lot about me, that I care about my customers and I care about quality. Say, this is the same thing. I shouldn't hold it like this, like it's a different kind of baggie. This doesn't tell me anything about myself or about what my dental office makes them think about me, because it's the same thing every dental office pretty much gives out. So what could we be doing that makes them feel like they are really important? If just like, one of the things that I'm going to share with you is the power of a little note that goes along with something that everybody gets is really powerful. Maybe, Rob, your pens can have like a tip, and every time you reorder pens, it's like a really helpful tip or strategy that your customers can use so that it benefits their business, or it helps with, depending on what type of business you're in, you may have different types of tips and it may cost a little bit more to have a few additional custom pens or to have smaller orders of pens. However, people will look forward to Rob's tips. They officially get to have Rob's tips on your pens. Yeah. The challenge people sometimes feel is, I can't sustain it. I can't sustain the obligation or the weight on my shoulders of making my customers feel great. Well, this is how simple it can be. My favorite restaurant in St. Catharines is Joe Fetta's. One of the reasons why they are my favorite is because when I was in university, my husband and I, this was the only place we could afford to go and get a meal. They were really good about having this special on every Monday at lunchtime, and we actually didn't have any class. We were able to go there. It was the only time we could go out to eat. It was really, really special. And what we found when we moved back to Niagara, they were still in business. Why? Because they care about their customers. For example, this little note. I actually went and found it a couple of nights ago because I never normally would keep a delivery receipt. However, look what it says. Thank you for your support. In other words, they were appreciating me for giving them business during COVID by picking up delivery. Stay safe. In other words, they care about my safety. Love, a heart, Team Feta. How many seconds do you think it took them to write that Post-it note? Just type a guess. I actually don't know, so we're all guessing together. My guess is about 10 seconds. That's my guess. What's your guess? Type your guess on there. Yeah, to Emily, you and I are the same. We guess about 10 seconds. Do you think, would you like it if somebody had sent you that gift? I'm going to give you a moment to just like to think about a company that has done something. It seems insignificant. It seems like nothing. If you've had anybody do even a small thing that gives you a smile or makes you feel great, type me in the chat. Yeah, Tammy said 5 seconds. Have you had anybody lately do something that, yeah, me, Deb. I love it. I love how you put that in caps too, like me. It takes so little to make somebody smile. And would we all agree we need to make people smile? So this is one of the reasons that they're still in business after 30 plus years. This is one of the reasons they are still our favorite restaurant after all of this time. They were my favorite before I had children and before I even had a mortgage. And I'm on the other side of that whole journey. But what do you do though if you have customers who are complaining? Does anyone have any customers who ever complain, perhaps? Yeah. Well, here's the benefit of also focusing on greatness. We can see that a complaint is merely a poorly worded request. A lot of us think about the people who are complaining as our adversaries or as the challenges, as the thorns in our side in our business. What they're actually, their greatness is so well hidden because of the complaint, because of the negativity. But what they're actually doing is they're contributing to us being able to lead a more successful business because they're identifying where an opportunity is. So I would like to suggest that us recognizing their greatness in those moments when they're complaining, such as, thank you for pointing this out. Nobody has pointed this out to me. I appreciate it. Or thank you so much for taking the time to say that to me personally, rather than posting that online. That is essential in being able to, to show and value and recognize and honor them. This, if you're wondering why it looks like a strobe light, it's because my air conditioning's kicked on. I'm gonna move this back over to here. Here's an example of something that the folks at Dawson's Creek did. Just one quick second, I'm gonna turn off my AC. It's making my lights flash. Okay, there we go. It's so hot here in Niagara. Our air conditioning is going constantly. It's making my lights flicker. So in Dawson's Creek, they had been going through a hugely challenging time. They had forest fires. I mean, here we have forest fires again in BC. They had a fentanyl crisis where addictions were on the rise out of control, and the oil and gas economic downturn had left unemployment at an all-time high. Well, they were noticing in the rec center where a lot of people go, this is the sort of the center point of the community. This is where in this really northern rural part of BC, people got their marriage license, they took their swimming lessons, they went and took driver's ed classes. It was pretty much everybody. And they saw a lot of stress and strain on the shoulders, the faces, and even what people were saying. They decided to focus on greatness rather than all the struggles that were going on in the organization. And what they decided to do was put up a frog board. So they said, here's little kudos cards, here's little frog cards. And they asked members of the community to write down somebody or something that was good about their community, the community that was suffering and struggling so much. And what they found is that people wanted a way to be able to celebrate and recognize greatness. They didn't want to feel like their community was broken. And they didn't want to only complain about their neighbors or about the mayor or about the swim instructors. They actually wanted to look for glimmers of greatness as well. So not only did the rec staff make it their mission that every hour on the hour, they would write out a kudos card and put it on that board for each other, for people that were in the swimming club. In fact, even the little kids started looking. They had to put them low on the board, looking for their name on the board. It also actually, and people started to go to the community center to write nice things about each other. So this is a business. I still see them as a business, even though they're a municipal business, that took it as their responsibility to make people feel great, to recognize people and to give them the opportunity to recognize others too. If you run a business with a community forum, if you help people out, you encourage people to support each other, it's that same sort of idea. Have you ever been to a coffee shop where there is an opportunity to pay it forward, that you can buy a coffee for somebody else who is in need? If you've ever had that, type in me if you've ever had that. I know I have. I love it. I love the idea. Remember, it says something about who you are through how you show up and how you recognize. And this is the thing I want to leave you with when it comes to the greatness part of customer retention through recognition, is it's the relational checkup. How has this built the relationship I have with this client? As opposed to the gesture is transactional. This is kind of the last way to filter through all of your ideas to see if it passes that last filter of it being relational versus simply transactional. People want to do business with folks that they know, like, and trust. And when your customers feel that you value them, not just for the bill that they will pay and the income that you make as a result of working with them, but you value them as a person, their well-being, their business doing well, increasing their education, feeling more confident, any of those dimensions, then they're more likely to know, like, and trust you and keep doing business with you. As well as, of course, for them they become your army of recruiters. They're the ones who send business to you because they know, they like you, and they trust you. Therefore, they want other people who need a bookkeeper or an accountant or whatever small business professional group that you fall into. They want others who need your service to be well taken care of. And you may be the best in your field, but if you don't make people feel good, then people may be hesitant to recommend you. However, you can be really darn good in your field and you are great to work with, and people will fall over themselves to recommend you because people want to work with people they value and trust. So let's wrap it up with these 4 key mantras. These are your muscles that you're working to build. And here's your mantras. Forever. I assume my best customers are with me forever. Recognize. I value all customers, from prospects to loyal customers. Others, I recognize customers for their gain, not just mine. Greatness. I always look for greatness and then honor it. The extra mile is never crowded. Go the extra mile. There are not going to be a lot of other businesses, people doing what you do, that will go the extra mile to make people feel valued and appreciated. So my question to you now is, what is your one next step? Feel free to type that in the chat. What is your one next step? Something you're already going to take from this conversation, from something you've learned, an idea you have. Your next step could be to do one of those suggested activities that I gave you. It could be that you know how you want to mix up your recognition strategy. It may be that you know what you're doing is working and that you want to keep doing it, or you want to tweak it a little bit. Feel free to type in the chat, please. What is your one next step? And this is me. And I am going to hand it back over to Jessica. I'm actually going to turn off my lights that keep flickering. One quick sec, but Jessica, what questions do we have?
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sarah. Just a brief reminder, if you have any questions, please feel free to throw them down in the Q&A box. So quite early on, someone was wondering, Sarah, if you had the best approach to retain online customers rather than walk-in customers.
Oh, yes. So I love the online. Oh my gosh, so many opportunities for online because you can see buying behaviors with your technology so much faster. So if you're finding that having a responsive system, so using the predictive sending can help, because if people don't want to be getting an email on weekends and they prefer it to be Monday mornings, predictive sending can help with that. When somebody has bought something, send them a tip on how to use that thing. Or if you notice that there's a lot of questions in your question forum, your product forum, about how to use something or how to maximize it, offer a free tip session or a few extra videos on how to use it, with zero expectation that they buy more or they up their membership level. It's just paying attention to what their buying behavior, what their use behavior, finding ways to serve them, and you'll get more sales, I'm sure, from that. but making them feel like they are not a number in the virtual, in the digital, e-commerce space. Because let's face it, almost everybody treats e-commerce customers in this one and done transactional way. And the only way they're usually that connection is like spamming them with coupons and offers and here's the sales. When in fact, when your messages to them are about saying like, hey, how is it going? And did you receive your package? Did you want, I know you've purchased these things. Would you like a quick 10-minute check-in about how to best utilize that? I mean, how wonderful would that be? Because if it's different, people will remember it, they'll notice it, they'll recommend you, and they're more likely to order more from you as well. But if there's a follow-up question related to that, I'm happy to speak to that.
Awesome. So do we need to be tracking how long a customer has been a customer, or should we also be tracking how much they're spending?
Yeah, great questions. I would say you have to determine for yourself, what does that 20% look like? Or is it a combination of things? I prefer to do combinations. Is it number of referrals, how much they've spent, positive, reviews, and publicly sharing, tagging, active on social media, acknowledging what I do. All of those things together, I think, make up who your top customers are. Because even if a customer, let's say you have a customer that's only spent maybe 10% of your biggest customer, but your biggest customer only buys it and nobody knows about it. However, somebody else is constantly promoting your products. Maybe in fact, both of those things are just as good. Both of them are in your top 20. So I would say based on your business and based on what you know is what leads to retention. And if your business retention is really publicly sharing your products and your services and recommendations, I would definitely have that as part of your metric. If you're 100% tight margins, it's all about what people buy and what products they buy, and they make all their decisions based on price, then yes, recognizing people through the financial incentives will probably be more the way to go. But I'll tell you, I posted a few things on my story from my favorite novelist, because I just came off of a week staycation, right, Jess? We had a little bit, snuck in some vacation this summer, and I tagged them, the authors. Never would I have been able to connect with these best-selling authors, and they responded privately to me with huge gratitude. I'm like, wow, I never would have expected being able to connect with them. So your clients, by them sharing, positively tagging you and posting and engaging on social, and you respond to that, that's even a way of showing recognition. I feel valued by those authors because they took the time to acknowledge, whether it's just a heart or that's so nice. I feel like I'm a person and I matter. So any way that you can show them that it matters, by reinforcing whatever you want to see more of, sales, recommendations, referrals, whatever you want to see more of is what you want to recognize, and that goes into your 20%. I hope that answers your question. Yeah.
Yeah. So given the time, I want to respect everyone who's joined us today. I think we're going to end it off with this last question. How can you best recognize a long-term client when you have multiple users of your product within a large organization?
So just, can you repeat the question? I'm just trying, there's a few parts to it.
Of course. How can you best recognize a long-term client when you have multiple users of your product within a large organization?
So if you're in a large organization, you probably work in a team. You may want to talk about this and work it out, what's your team's strategy. So that's probably the first thing that I would do. When I worked in organizations, really large organizations, my team and I would decide our recognition and appreciation strategy together, and more heads are better than one anyway. You may have different things that incentivize people to work with you. So this may be where, when you look at your top 20 people, you may notice that there's different things that you need to acknowledge. What's going to help? So working with I'm just going to make it up, the finance and procurement people, it's speed of delivery and prioritizing their request over others. For HR department and maybe like quality department, it is you taking an extra pass and being willing to review something for them. So the way in which we recognize people may in fact be a little bit different based on what they most value. And that's a good filter to put if you have a really diverse group of clients that you serve. And if, when you work inside a business, that's not uncommon. Looking at it through the lens of what do these individuals value? If that, and sometimes we know the things they complain about are actually the things they most value. It's just they complain about the things that they're not getting, which is what they most value. So that's part of that customized, you see it from that other standpoint. What does this person need, as opposed to treating everybody, valuing everybody the same way? I hope that answered the question. I'm happy to do a follow-up question if that wasn't quite answering what the person had in mind.
No, I think that was great. Thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you everyone for joining us today, and we hope to see you soon.
Thanks, everybody.